Hey guys, I'm in Oskmen, Kazakhstan, and I'm playing in a new tournament against many grandmasters, masters. It's called Oskmen Open, and I'm one of the lowest rated players in this tournament, so it's going to be very much fun. Maybe it's going to be painful, but today the first game was fun. And I played against a strong international master, Bakhtiar Nugumanov, who is a former champion of Astana, the capital of Kazakhstan. So a formidable opponent, of course, much higher rated than me. I'm just a candidate master and not even an international candidate master, a national candidate master. So, of course, he wanted to get a win against me, but I played at 95% accuracy. Let's see how the game went. So he chose the g3 first move, rare first move, and we transposed into a Pirk defense. We could have transposed into the King's Indian if he decided to go for c4, but he decided to go for d4, and no, c4, again, if he goes c4 here, this is the King's Indian, but he doesn't, so this is a Pirk defense. I don't usually play it, but I decided, you know what, I'm going to improvise. I improvised the opening on the fly, on the go. And here I broke in the center with c5. Obviously, I want to open up the diagonal for my bishop. He takes, he trades the queens, and he goes e5. He is opening the diagonal for his bishop. And here I was just debating in my head internally whether to go knight f to d7 to put pressure on this pawn like this, or to go knight g4. And then I remembered the words of my coach, Grandmaster Farukh Amanatov, who says that backwards moves are usually not good. You should go forward, you should be active, and I'm like, okay, I'm not afraid. Knight g4, attacking this pawn. He supports it with f5, of course, and now I develop with knight c6. And here, I didn't know the theory. Turns out this is all theory. And I was really liking my position because I have a concrete threat. I want to go knight b4, putting pressure on this c2 pawn, which will be a fork. And there's really not much he can do to stop this. So he decided in the game to take, which is a committal decision, giving up a strong bishop for a knight. And now I have the two bishops advantage, but he has spoiled my pawn structure, so he has some advantages in this position, whereas I have my own advantage, the two bishops advantage. So in the game, I was very skeptical of this decision of his, because yes, he spoiled my pawn structure, but I'm clearly going to activate those bishops, and the two ops combo will be important in this game. So you will see. He told me after the game that he was considering bishop d2 instead. But here I just wanted to go knight b4, and the problem is that he cannot castle, because this is hanging, so he would like to castle here, but knight f2 is a fork into rook, so this is very bad, and after knight b4, he has to go for... If he goes bishop e4, this is what I calculated, I go f5, attacking this bishop. And if he takes en passant, I take with a knight, and I'm, again, attacking this bishop, and the bishop has to stay guarding this pawn, so black is already winning, it turns out, according to the engine. So the best move here is rook c1, but then bishop f5, and there are some crazy engine lines that give equality, but we will not go into this. So instead, he decided to exchange and kick my knight away and develop like this. I strike because I want to open up the position. Whenever you have the two bishops advantage, you should open the position. This is very, very important, very simple, and very effective. So takes, g4, and now go f5, freeing this diagonal for my bishop. Top engine move. g5, I drop back. Now my knight is a little bit clumsy, but I want to reroute it and put it either on e4 or on c4, or maybe on b5 and then d4. So knights are tricky pieces. You should know where to place them. But here I was confident that I'm going to find a good square for the knight sooner rather than later. He castles. I develop one of my bishops. It's now I and this knight, and I really like my position. Actually, let me tell you a story. I have fallen ill with fever today. So before the tournament, I checked my body temperature, and it's higher than usual, and my throat and my nose are congested, so I wasn't really feeling well. But I decided, you know what, no excuses. I'm going to try and play. I drank some medicine that my doctor said should help. So yeah, I was playing with fever, and it's a strange feeling, but whatever. Okay, so knight g3. sidestepping the attack by my bishop. And I go 96, activating my knight, and I'm really feeling confident. I thought maybe it's just because of my fever, I'm stupid and I'm imagining things, but maybe I'm right and he's in trouble here. Turns out I was right. He's in trouble, in a little bit of trouble. So if he plays top engine moves, he will equalize, but otherwise I have some nagging pressure here. He attacks the pawn with the knight, and I jump in with bishop d4, and I really like this position because this bishop, you remember I told you some videos ago about this trick that you should place your bishop 2 squares away from enemy's knight, and in this way you control all squares that the knight can jump into. So knight c5, knight c3, so they are all those squares are controlled by the bishop. So this is a great place to put your bishop. And also I have a concrete threat. I want to go here, and he will have problem coordinating pieces. And also I want to go here, putting pressure on d4, d2 and b2. So it's a little bit unpleasant here. Here the computer says that he should repeat the moves here. Check, check. And this is the best white can get. So already you can see that this is not what my opponent wanted here, because he's an IM. He's 400 rating points higher than me. So he wants to play for a win, of course. He goes b3, stopping knight c4, and I go bishop f2. And here, again, the best he can get is bishop e1, check. Now this is hanging, they have 4 pawns, so he has to block with the bishop. Now again I attack. The knight has no squares. It cannot go to e2 because it will be taken. It cannot go to e4. It can go to f1, but then I have bishop f1, and this rook is trapped, and I'm winning. So then the knight is stuck there. So the best he can do is defend it with the bishop, but then there is this check, bishop e3 check, so this, and either he repeats the moves or I take this important pawn and then this pawn, and the position collapses. So here he was really unhappy about the position, and he decided, you know what, I'm going to sacrifice a rook for a bishop and play for a win. So this is clearly what went through his mind, and he went rook h to g1, which is objectively not the best move, but practically, of course, if you are an international master and you are confident that you are better than your opponent, you should try this, yeah. Here I was considering 2 moves. First, taken, which I did in the game, which is not the best option. It gives me only a slight advantage because he has the counterplay because of his powerful dark squared bishop and my weak dark squares and my weak pawns here and a bad bishop over there. So I took, and it was not good. But I was considering knight e4, and turns out that the engine really praises this move. So what I calculated was he has to take. I take with a pawn. Now I'm threatening e3, and I thought that he is going to go rook to e1. And if I take, he'll just win my pawn later on, and the computer agrees this is equal. Maybe even he can play for a win because this pawn is weak, and yeah, he has a pawn and a knight for a rook. My pawns are bad, so not the best scenario for me. But actually here I completely missed e3. I thought I saw this move, but I stopped my calculation after rook takes e3. I thought he'll just take, and he won my pawn. He has a pawn for an exchange, but turns out that the computer really likes this position for me because I can activate my pieces. I can go c4, and I can play for a win here. It is -1 here. I didn't realize this at the time. The computer finds another move here. So after takes. Instead of rook g to e1, the computer finds the crazy rook d to e1. And now I can take either of the rooks, but there's nothing too crazy about this position for me. The best move, you will not believe it, is bishop e2, giving up the light squared bishop. So crazy stuff. I'm not sure if I would have found this over the board. Other moves do not lead too much for black, so okay, I'm not too bitter about missing knight 94 here. I thought for some time, and then I took the rook, and I went c4 to at least get rid of these doubled pawns. They're not good, of course. He attacks my bishop, I drop back. He takes this important diagonal, we trade, and here I realize that my position is not that easy to play, even though I'm up technically 2 points of material, a rook for a knight, because he has this strong unopposed dark squared bishop. And in future, if he, for example, manages to go h4, h5, rook h1, open up this file, he will just destroy me on the h file. This is one idea for him. Another idea for him is to go rook e1, rook e7, rook g7 check, and destroy me like this. So it doesn't matter that I'm up material. My bishop and my rook are stuck for the time being, and I don't understand how to activate them. So I realized that he has good compensation here. I thought I still should be better, and the computer agrees, but I'm better only if I play very precisely, which I which I didn't. Also, another idea for him is to teleport the knight to f6. Very good square for the knight. If he somehow does that, I'm in deep trouble. So I realized that I have to prevent somehow what he's about to do, and I came up with a plan of harassing his bishop first. And once the bishop moves, for example, to e5, I thought of rook d5. So this is what I did. It's an inaccuracy according to the engine. And here I initially wanted to go rook d5, but I decided against this because I realized that he has b4, and then the threat is c4, forking the rook and the knight. And I can't really do anything about it. So turns out I should have still gone for this, and I should have sacked the exchange back, takes, and then knight c7, and it's around equal. So already I should think about giving up the exchange. I didn't realize that the situation was that dire at the moment. So I decided, you know what, I'm not going to give up the exchange back. Maybe at least not now. I'll go rook e8. And here he finds a good move, bishop e5. Now his bishop is restricting my knight. Remember this configuration. Bishop 2 squares away from the knight. Good bishop, bad knight. So, and also this is like the wooden shield, as Hikaru calls it, because it's protected by the pawn. Nice position of the bishop. So he has ideas of rook d1, rook d6 here. He has ideas of rook d1, knight d7. And if I take, he infiltrates on the 7th, which is again very bad for me. He also has ideas of rook d1, knight d7, and if I don't take, knight f6 is crushing. He also has ideas of h4, h5, rook h1, which is very unpleasant. And I don't really have any activity. So here I start to panic a little bit. I also think that my fever is getting worse. Maybe I'll collapse right now, but I try to go for some counterplay. First of all, I realize that he has the idea of c4 here. c4, and my knight has to go to a3, and then king b2 just catches my knight. I have no place to go for the knight, so I really desperately need to activate this knight. This is why I go rook d8. I want to go bishop here. He goes knight e2, preventing this and also activating the knight. I go a5, trying to maybe in future go a4 if the knight leaves the square, or maybe go bishop a6. At least I should activate my pieces, because I'm playing down a bishop and a rook at the time. They are present at the board, but they are not actively participating. So he goes h4 here, and his plan is clear. So here he goes h4. His plan is to go h5, rook h1, takes, rook h8 check, rook takes something here, or at least he has the perpetual check, but probably he has something better here. So I realize that I'm in trouble here, and if he goes h5 and I take, then he has g6 to break the position, or he has knight g3 to take on f5 and then infiltrate like this. Very, very unpleasant position. So I decide to go for counterplay. I go rook d5. And here I thought that, yes, I'm attacking the knight. And I thought that if he goes back knight a4, I calculated that I can just give up the rook for the bishop in some variations if it's necessary, and the material will be equal, but there will be no problems on the h file because there will be no bishop control in the h8 square. This was my idea. And I was getting low on time at this point, and I thought, yeah, I should probably start playing for a draw now because I don't like my position. And no longer playing for a win. And the computer agrees, white is better already, despite the material disadvantage. And also, white is threatening this fork. But I thought, you know what, I don't care about this fork. If he forks me, I'll take on e5. And I went bishop a6, which turns out to be a mistake. Immediately, once I made this move, I realized that he has c4. c4 is a fork. And if I take, what's the difference? Take, knight c7. The difference, if we compare this to what happened in the game, is that he has this move. First of all, he has rook d1 to infiltrate on this file, but also he has bishop knight d4, which is very nice. Attacking this pawn, I cannot really defend it, and then he advances, and this is practically winning for white. So I realized that while he was thinking, and I realized that he probably will go c4. And I thought, what can I do? And I thought, okay, if c4, I'll sack a piece. I'll go rook d3, I'll go for activity. And if he takes, I will take back either with bishop or with a pawn. Turns out that I was correct, by the way. Taking for him is not good, because if he takes, he goes here, I go here, and I have sufficient counterplay. Wow, I didn't know that. So his pawn is hanging, and he has 2 pieces for a rook, but I have some counterplay. So I was correct in my idea to sack. But he should not take. The trick here for him is not to take, but to go knight c5, and he's close to winning. Wow, instead of taking the piece, he is attacking the rook and putting pressure here. Wow, and once I drop back, he can take. And this is already a much better version for him, because he can go here. Wow, it's hard to find with an engine, without an engine. With an engine, of course, everything looks easy. Neither I nor my opponent realized at the time that c4 is c4, rook d3, knight c5 is this strong. So instead, he went knight b6, which is logical. I sacked the rook for the bishop. And it's very important here not to go rook e8, putting pressure on the pawn, because then he will have knight d7. And the knight will infiltrate, it will be unpleasant. Instead, it's very important to go rook d8, controlling the d7 square, controlling the d4 square, and actually I'm close to equality. Again, my bishop is still bad, I should activate it somehow, my pawns are weak, but I have my own trumps in the position. At least I can activate my king now, I can blockade the pawn with my knight, and I started feeling a little bit more optimistic after all those transformations happened. So he goes rook e1, trying to go knight f4 next and push the pawn. Of course, I don't want him to do this. So I go here. I want to use my knight as a blockading piece. Knights are great blockading pieces. So if you can blockade a passed pawn with a knight, do it. Just do it. Knight f4 would be a good move for him, but I have rook d4, and it's getting a little bit unpleasant. If he cannot defend with rook f1 because my bishop eyes this square, so actually his position is already uncomfortable. He should make a draw here with rook d1 and perpetual check like this. So not a perpetual check, but he wins the knight. And this is a draw according to the engine. So of course he is still trying to play for a win. So instead of going knight f4 here, he goes c4, trying to kill my bishop. My bishop has no squares now. I put my knight on the blockading square. He trades the rooks, and here I realized that probably it should be a draw, but I should be precise. And I have like 5 minutes on the clock by this time. And I'm like, am I going to draw this game, or maybe even win it if he makes a mistake? Let's see. h6, a great move that my coach has praised. I've shown him the game, already sent him the notation, and he's like, h6 was nice. So the idea is that he takes, but I activate my king, and I'll take it next. And then I go g5, preventing him from going with his knight to f4, which he wanted to do. Takes, and this is an equal endgame. So he wants to trade the knights, but I do it on my terms. I check him, then I take, and I go f3. And he has to run for my pawn to stop it, but then I run for his pawn, and this is a drawn endgame. I check him, and this is just a fortress. I can do nothing. I can do anything. I shouldn't allow him to go with his king to a4. That's the only thing that I should be mindful of. The rest is very easy. So I just wait, and here we agree to a draw, and I make a draw against an international master. I probably have gained some significant amount of rating points because of this draw. Let's check. So I used to be 1904, and after this draw, the website is loading, so I don't know, it's still loading. So but I will gain some rating points. But what's more important is that I'm now feeling more comfortable playing against stronger opponents. You might remember that I recently won against an IM. I had another great position against another IM. I unfortunately lost it, but I had a draw in one move. So today I did not lose, and I drew. So this makes me feel optimistic about my quest to attain the FIDE Master title. Did you like the game? Please write it in the comments, your opinion, and stay tuned for the next recaps. Every day I will produce them. See you in the next one. Let's hope that I'll get better. Write it in the comments if you want me to get better.